Good morning. Welcome to the Mid-Maine Chamber of Commerce and Thomas College Business Breakfast Series. My name is Cindy Stevens. I'm the Program Director at the Mid-Maine Chamber of Commerce, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here today. For those of you who don't know, Kim is in Florida, so that's how I got elected. Before we begin our program this morning, I'd like to take a moment to thank our 2020 Business Breakfast Series sponsors: AT&T, Cross Insurance, New Dimensions Federal Credit Union, Nicholson, Mishu and Company CPAs, O'Donnell, Lee, McCowan and Phillips, Attorneys at Law, and Sheridan Construction. We also have the Morning Sentinel, who's our 2020 print sponsor, 107.9, The Mix, our 2020 radio sponsor, Kennebec Savings, who's our 2020 video sponsor, and our additional February sponsor is CGI Technologies and Solutions. Thank you so much to our sponsors for supporting this event. Just a reminder, I'd like to ask you to turn your cell phones off in consideration of our guests. And please don't forget to complete the evaluation forms on the table at the close of the program. We'd also like to welcome our newest chamber members for January: Bug & Joe's Automotive and Towing Service, LLC, Candy Hollow, Goodwill Northern New England Workforce Services, Juliet's Bakery and Deli, Quaker Hill Disc Golf, and Serendipity Child Care Center. We'd also like to thank today's entrepreneurial spotlighter, Candy Hollow, who you just heard from. They also provided the delicious samples as you entered today. If you didn't pick yours up, there are still some left at the table. We'd like to talk about our upcoming events. Tuesday, February 11th from 5 to 7, KV Connect will present Waterville Green Drinks, benefiting the Humane Society Waterville area and held at their location on 100 Webb Road, Waterville. This event is part of the International Green Drinks Network, which is an informal and volunteer-managed social networking group built around a common interest and passion for the environment, sustainability, and community. Please join them for great food, drinks, and conversation. KV Connect and Green Drinks is sponsored by New Dimensions Federal Credit Union. Please also join us for our next Business After Hours at 5:30 on February 12th, downstairs at the Waterville Elks Lodge 905. This is sponsored by Northern Light Inland Hospital, Kennebec Savings Bank, and Valley Beverage. Thursday night, for all of our techies, February 13th, the Central Maine Growth Council is presenting Central Maine Tech Night. That is sponsored by CGI, Bricks Co-working, Valley Beverage, and the Harold Alfond Institute for Business Innovation at Thomas College. They have gatherings each month for drinks, pizza, networking, and some of the hottest issues in technology. February's topic will be Henry Gilbert, the founder of Back 40. And he will discuss his startup story and how he built an online platform to help Mainers and tourists easily access our state's great outdoors, featuring an online, on-demand outdoor gear rental service for pre-assembled camping kits and a la carte rentals. The event will be held in the Bricks Co-working and Innovation Space at 10 Water Street at the Hathaway Building. Our next business breakfast here on March 12th will be entitled Clarity on Cannabis. The Wellness Connection CEO, Patricia Rossi, will speak on navigating the new cannabis market. Should be an interesting topic. We will have our door prize drawings. We've got our 3 business spotlighters. We have, I'll get my little bowl from my chair. Natalie, could you grab the bowl? We have an Educare Central Maine $50 gift card to the children's bookseller. Thompson's VW supplied a $50 Amici's Cucina gift card and some Thompson VW mugs. And Waterville Audiology has a Stonewall Kitchen breakfast gifts basket valued at $80. Candy Hollow also left us a gift certificate for $25. The winner of the Educare Central Maine $50 gift card to Children's Book Center is Mitch Donar from JMG. I'll let him make his way down here. The $50 Amici's Cucina gift card from Thompson VW goes to Michael Byrne from Century 21 Surratt. The Stonewall Kitchen breakfast gift basket from Waterville Audiology goes to Tracy Warren from Kennebec Savings Bank. And the $25 Candy Hollow gift certificate goes to Sean Mishu from Cunningham Security. Our speaker today is Colby's Director of Commercial Real Estate, Paul Urenick, speaking on Waterville United. I'd like to ask Michelle Joler-Labby, Thomas College Chief HR Officer, to come up and introduce today's speaker. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Cindy. Good morning and welcome. It is my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today, Paul Urenick, Director of Commercial Real Estate at Colby College. Paul's background is in commercial real estate, having worked for the Bolus Company, Northern New England's largest commercial real estate development, brokerage, and management firm for 30 years as their Senior Vice President of Project Management. Paul has a track record in managing and transforming 4 million square feet of complex manufacturing, office, medical, retail, and office real estate development projects. Paul is a creative and collaborative leader with the ability to bring together diverse professional and community groups, often with conflicting goals, to build consensus and improve working relationships. He excels at solving construction problems by recognizing and acknowledging the importance of all team members and is skilled in permitting, financing, and design, making him the optimal choice for major project planning and implementation. Paul's work in integrating Colby's vision into the footprint established in downtown Waterville, as well as the additional projects, expansions, and continuing growth in the city's core, will be the focus of his enlightening presentation. Paul relocated to Waterville from the Portland area with his partner Becky 3.5 years ago. Paul has 5 children, all now adults, and 8 grandchildren. His recreational activities include fishing, hunting, riding his motorcycle, and cooking large family Sunday meals for his family. Please join me in welcoming Paul Urenick.
Get this technology all set up here. All right, we have liftoff, we have liftoff. Okay, wonderful. Well, good morning, everybody. Wonderful to be here. Thank you to the Chamber. Thank you to Thomas College. And I don't know where the wait staff just went who put out this delicious breakfast for us this morning, but I'd also like to thank them for serving us such a wonderful meal this morning. I'm going to talk a little bit this morning about where we're at in the development of downtown Waterville. And I'm not going to go all the way back to where we started. When I say all the way back to where we started, that was almost 4 years ago now. I'm going to skip over a lot of the history of it because I think a lot of the folks in the room are familiar with that. As I do look around the room, though, this morning, I almost feel as though I'm preaching to the choir. A lot of the folks that I see here, I've done 1 or 2 of these presentations before for the Rotary, and so I see a lot of familiar faces. And then, you know, as I've been a resident here of Waterville now for almost 4 years now, it's you know, of course, I've come to meet a lot of, you know, the local families, business people, et cetera. So it's been a wonderful experience for both Becky and myself. So why don't I jump right into this? So what do you think about this? Huh? I'm sure everybody saw that in the paper. What do you think all the folks down in Portland were saying when they saw this in the paper the other day? Those you know what from Waterville, you know? Oh my God. Unbelievable, unbelievable. Would this, would this article, would something like this haven't even be thought of, 3-4 years ago? No, not at all. So it's really, really unbelievable that, Portland should follow Waterville's model. Unbelievable. So what is the model? It's one thing. So, I think one of the most important things to talk about when we talk about what is the model is really the broad engagement of people that have been involved in this process from the very beginning. I have to emphasize that, Colby has been a key participant in all of this, but Colby is one of 20, 30, 40 different organizations around the city that have participated in it. Not just organizations, but also the public itself. Here's, multiple headlines, from the newspaper over the few years where I see Amy here taking her notes, jotting it down, Thank God for Amy. Amy's one of our biggest advocates. She's always out there front, pushing this development process. But this is, when we talk about broad engagement, let me go back a little bit. When we talk about broad engagement, I have another slide in there somewhere that talks a lot about all the different partners that we have. But this really is a wide-ranging. This is not just a Colby venture. So, so what is the model? So what did we do or what did this partnership do that folks are talking about following this model? Well, this goes back to a little over 4 years ago. Actually, it's probably 4 years ago this month. If you look at the bottom of the slide, it's February of 2016. These strategies that you see here, these were strategies that were developed by a broad range of individuals throughout the city that met with the city council, met with all the city leaders, et cetera, and from the 60,000 foot levels, where do we begin? Where do we start? So, you come up with these really, kind of obtuse, but yet, good goals to strive for. And so these are the strategies, and these strategies were all actually ultimately adopted by the Waterville City Council. So, so once again, this is fully supported by the city. Jumping back to, I'm going to go back just for 1 second here. Increasing the density downtown, art, shopping, recreation. I lived in Portland for probably 40, 45 years before I came to Waterville. And I'm almost embarrassed to say this, but as I worked throughout the state, I would always pass exit 127 and 130. I never got off, and it was that long before I actually got off into Waterville. My work would be in Bangor or on the coast, et cetera. But when I came to this area, and I'm really focusing here on this regional art strategy and the recreation, I was amazed at the amount of art and recreation that really goes on in central Maine. It blew me away. It blew me away. I'll tell you. We could easily compete with, easily compete with Southern Maine. I think we're better at it than they are. And I'll get into some of these other ones a little bit further, but the physical environment and long-term business growth, et cetera. Talking about the partnerships once again, the city, all of the different businesses, private investors, that's really key, the private investors, because all along, we saw ourselves as really being the catalyst to a development. No way did we ever think that this was going to be about Colby just investing in money and that was going to, create this panacea. It doesn't work like that. We were willing to become the lost leaders in this. The Harold Alfond Foundation, well, what can you say about that? I mean, they are just unbelievable. Thomas College, this is such a wonderful campus, and everything that goes on here at Thomas College, I am just so impressed with what goes on here. The Growth Council, we got, Garvin is sitting over there. Garvin is just, the city is so lucky to have Garvin. Not just the city, but really the Kennebec Valley area is just so lucky to have Garvin working for us. The Chamber, Waterville Creates, talking about the arts, State of Maine, congressional delegation, and the government. I'll talk a little bit later about, the Build Grant, and, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money the federal government is bringing into Waterville. And I'll tell you right now, it would have not happened without Susan Collins. It wouldn't have happened. So thank you, Susan. Individual philanthropists, civic organizations, on and on and on. But, once again, I'm just trying to stress that this has really been a wide-ranging partnership. So an aerial view of what's really occurred over the past few years. This slide will show you. So the buildings that you see in blue are the buildings that Colby has been directly involved with the development of it. You have 173 Main Street, you got the Bill and Joan Alfond Main Street Commons, you got the Paul Schuff Art Center. For those that aren't familiar with, that is the Center building, or the old Stearns building, or the old Montgomery Ward building, or the old, depending how far back you want to go. You've got the Lockwood Hotel. I'm sure everybody knows as you drive down Main Street now, that's pretty hard not to miss the hotel that's under construction. There are 2 vacant properties across the street from the Lockwood Hotel. Most people refer to that as the old Waterville hardware store. More to come on that a little later, but not today. But more importantly than what you see in blue, look at the darker red colors. That's really what's important about this slide. Those are the investments just in the downtown that have happened in the past few years, where other folks have come in and have picked up on this, this catalyst that we have tried to provide, And I'm looking really at the downtown here, this, 3-4 block area from Post Office Square down to, let's call it, the Lockwood Mill Complex, the Hathaway Complex, et cetera. But, if I were to expand that slide just a little bit out, a little bit further, you could talk about Bill Mitchell's project at the Elm, at the old Legion, and what he's done there, which is, I think, it's wonderful, that event center that he's put together there. You can talk about, as you head out Main Street further, at the Congregational Church and the Children's Discovery Museum, wanting to move from Waterville. From Augusta to Waterville. So, this even spreads out even further. But look at all of these. Get this pointer right here. Yeah, there you go. Just look at all of these different properties and money that's being invested. And I'll talk a little bit more about these here, but but that's really what it's all about, is bringing in others. So, getting back to those strategies that were on that original slide that were adopted by the city, and let's talk about those a little bit. So this is the first project that I worked on when I came to town. This is 173 Main Street. This building was originally Waterville Savings Bank. It was constructed in 1902. So in this building here, you have, oops, excuse me, go back one more. I was looking for the light there. So you got Portland Pie right here. I'm going to talk in a couple minutes a little bit about a new tenant that's moving into this space. On the second floor of the building, Colby occupies office space on the second floor of this building, which is wonderful because the more office workers we have downtown, the more people we have. You know, it's one thing to bring in new restaurants and new businesses, but you need people to shop at those new businesses. So Colby's got office space on the second floor. On the third floor of the building is CGI. I think Josh, I saw Josh Carsons from CGI in the room here. Josh, thank you and your organization for, you know, the wonderful job that you're doing. You know, CGI is an international firm. They, you know, the skills that they bring to their industry and the clients that they have are, you know, both national, international clients. CGI is the real deal. And they're getting their foothold here in town, and so we couldn't be more pleased to have CGI in the building. And then up on the fourth floor is that space is serving as an entrepreneurial and incubator space for Colby students. Much as what I think a lot of the same thing goes on here at Thomas. But you know, students that have a business idea and they want to pursue it, that floor is used to help them pursue those ideas. One quick little anecdote about this building here is when I first came in, I renovated this building. I put construction lighting in this building, and I got a phone call the next morning from Ann Beveridge, and she says, "Oh my God," Ann Beveridge just said, a city planner. She said, "Oh my God, I've been in this town for 30 years. I've never seen lights on in the building." And I was like, wow. I said, this is going to be a fun town to work in. If I put construction lights in a building and people are excited about it, wait till we really start doing some stuff. Bill and Joan, Alphon, Main Street Commons. You know, this was a fun project. We turned this project around quickly. We did this in, I think, a little under 2 years, both design and construction of this building. 200 students in this building, faculty in this building, staff in this building, once again supporting the businesses downtown. And just as important, this bottom space here, this is the Chase Forum. City Council, Planning Board, all hold their meetings there. I can't even tell you how many nonprofit groups, et cetera, use this space at no cost. And all of the students that live in this building, every one of them has to perform some sort of community service and tie it into their studies also. There were, let me try. I know there are 30 students alone work at the library. There were 27,000 hours, I believe, last year of student work was provided to downtown organizations. And this is everything from working to the, with the police, with the fire department, doing environmental studies at the local lakes or the homeless shelter, everything. So this is, it's been wonderful. The Lockwood Hotel, as you know, it's under construction. The scheduled completion date for this project is in October of this year. So, we're working hard to get that. We're actually, we're doing most of our work now on the inside of the building. You see all the sheathing, et cetera, on the outside. We're going to wait until the spring. This exterior that you see here, this is all limestone. We thought long and hard about the design of this building. We wanted to have a building that showed movement, that showed progress, that showed that Waterville was moving forward, but yet we also wanted to have a building that respected the heritage of Waterville. And as we walked up and down the street, Main Street, et cetera, we saw one material of the buildings that had been there for over 100 years that stood out, and it was the limestone. So that's why we decided to go with that skin on that building. Here's another rendering. This is coming from the south. This is coming in from Winslow. If you come in from Winslow, what do you see now? You see a sign that says, "Do not enter." So hopefully, when the build grant is completed and you come in from Winslow, and this will be your view also of, the south end of Main Street. And also, the slip lane that comes around as you go down Main Street, you got that slip lane that swings around and goes on the front street. That slip lane is going to disappear. So this green space that you show here will actually continue down a little bit further. Here is the rear of the hotel. This is coming in from Front Street. This is the porte cochere. Love that word, porte cochere. On the rear of the building, so we'll have additional parking on site. We'll have the handicap parking here. We've got parking across the street where the old Camden ATM was, and then also lease spaces from the city in the adjacent lot. There. I love this slide. So this is the bar. We've tried to right-size the bar. Actually, we've tried very hard to both right-size not only the bar, but also the restaurant. How many great restaurants have you gone into where maybe the food is great, the service is great, but they're just too big? And you just kind of feel like you're lost in like a big room. So we've worked really hard at looking at this bar and looking at the restaurant and coming up with a seating plan that gives it some intimacy. This is one of the two fireplaces. There's this one in the bar, and I don't have another slide to show you, but as you come into the main lobby, there's also another fireplace there. This is your typical guest room, king guest room. I actually have one of these guest rooms under construction right now. My introduction, talked about me building 4 million square feet of real estate. I'll tell you, I've done shopping centers, warehouses, medical office buildings, parking garages, Pineland, dairy barns, cheese factories. I've done about everything. One thing I didn't do was a hotel. So this has been a learning process for me. Hotels are very, very complex projects. So one of the things I learned about a hotel is, 6-8 months before you're done with the hotel, you have to have one room that's complete. So you can go in it and make sure that if you need to make any changes, you can do it. How many times have you gone into a hotel, you go to plug in your USB, and you're reaching behind the headboard to try to find the receptacle? So these are the things you look at, placement of receptacles, wallpaper, carpet, making sure all the things that you have designed didn't work. And to the greatest extent, we're really trying to use as much as possible Maine vendors. The artwork in this room will come from Maine vendors. A lot of the, the bedding, the comforters, the wall hangings. That wall hanging you see there, that's actually an Angela Adams piece. So that room is under construction now. Hopefully by the end of the month it'll be done. And then I can take all my bosses through, and with my fingers crossed, they walk through. I pray that they like it, because I don't have a lot of time to change it. Here's a shot that was taken just a couple weeks ago, I think, that shows the progress of that. So on, okay. Lockwood Mills redevelopment. This project, probably more than anything, is really what excites me. Some of it's a little selfishness on my part. As I was building this hotel, one thing that I was worried about was, we're building this beautiful hotel, somebody's up on the 4th floor and they're looking south, and what do they see? 2 mills with broken windows, et cetera, et cetera. So it's wonderful that that the North River folks are coming in and they're doing this, invested. I know these people. I've done work on and off with them for over 30 years, different towns throughout the state, and I'll tell you, Waterville is very lucky to have this development team coming into this project. These guys know what they're doing. They've done it before, and they're smart and they're sophisticated, and they will make this, this will be a successful project. But most importantly is, you know, oops. But most importantly, you know, in my mind, is this here, you know, the units. Once again, it's about getting more people downtown, living downtown, working downtown, et cetera. And also, you know, when they talk about workforce housing, you know, this is once again getting back to that Portland model where Portland has failed in a lot of ways, is they don't have that. You know, they don't have workforce housing, and people are getting pushed out. Strategy 2, Waterville is a destination for the arts, shop, and recreation. Paul Schuff Art Center. So this, once again, is the center building. This is a building now that we are pretty much at the end of concept design. You go from concept design to schematic design. We almost have this figured out. We don't 100. We still got a little more work to do on it. But this is really going to transform, I think, the center of Main Street. We are going to maintain this historic frontage of the building on Main Street. We think that's key. All this new curtain wall that'll be going in on this. This is also, as folks probably know, you know, Colby is big on the environment. We're, I think, one of the first colleges in the country to be carbon neutral. All of the projects that I've shown you that we've done, these are all LEED certified buildings, you know, various degrees, whether it be silver or gold or bronze, whatever. We're trying something different on this building. This building, we're actually looking at passive house construction, which is relatively new here in the United States, and it's an extremely environmentally friendly type of construction that plays into the whole carbon neutral philosophy of the college. So the ground floor here, this will be Common Street. Common Street Arts will be in this area. There'll be a box office here that will support the Opera House over here. And on the second floor of the building, it's where there are currently some movie theaters that are designed. We're still going through the layout of those theaters. You come through the side entrance here, Castangue Square. Colby will put a gallery of contemporary art in this space right here. On the lower level, there's some office space also. So we're very excited about this. You know, people can come in, you just look at the amount of glass you come up through, and you see this connector here too. This connector, that's, thank God, not the same connector that exists now. We shifted it over. This connector will allow for the Opera House to have true handicapped accessibility. It'll come up another level. You know, when you come in now, you still have those 4 or 5 steps that you have to go up to. So we're very excited about this project. With, you know, with any luck, and if things go well, we hope to be in the ground this summer on this project. Waterville is a culinary destination. And I don't know if Jennifer Bergeron's here, but I would apologize to her. I forgot to highlight her Lion's Den Tavern. So excuse me, Jennifer, but look at all, even now, just the amount of restaurants that are in downtown. You know, you don't really realize that until you list them all. But another interesting thing about this slide also, you see where, you know, Portland Pie, Proper Pig, Say Latte, we don't even have them highlighted. They're like 2 years old. That's old hat now, you know? What's new? What's new? So Bixby and Company Chocolate Cafe, They are currently located in Rockland. This is going to be their first retail location. When I showed you that slide of 173 Main Street, they will be going into that adjacent space that's next to Portland Pie. They hope to get under construction within the next, probably month or two, with the idea of being opening by this summer. Front and Main, that is the name of the restaurant that will be in the hotel. And what's key to that also, that restaurant will have a completely separate entrance. It was important to us that the community consider that a family restaurant, a local restaurant, that they did not have to walk through, the hotel lobby. Guacamoles, Kevin Joseph's new place, great burritos, strongly suggested it. Melon Tango, South African, Opa, Waterville, Mediterranean Greek food, Verna's all day. That's the new restaurant that'll be going into 150 Main Street or the Bill and Joan Alfond Commons in that 4,000 square feet of space. And that's being opened by two very successful a husband and wife team from Portland, restaurateurs that have been successful in the Portland area. Bixby, once again, there are, non-GMO organic chocolates, bean Nabarda chocolate. These are very, very sophisticated people. These people they're getting a national reputation. So we really look forward to Kate McAleer coming to town. And once again, they'll be open this year. Verna's, once again, I just spoke about them going into the Alfond Commons. Strategy 3, improving the physical environment to foster long-term growth. Heddle Falls. I mean, how beautiful is Heddle Falls, seriously? That opening slide that came up that, a drone had took of that, I look at that picture and I was going to say, if I was ever going to create like a new postcard, they don't do postcards a lot anymore, but a new postcard of Waterville, I'd use that drone image, greetings from Waterville, Maine. I think it'd be a big seller. But, Heddle Falls, there's just so much going on down there. And it's between the farmers market and the other, events that have happened down there this past summer. Oh, yeah, look at this image. Wouldn't that make a great postcard? Greetings from Waterville, Maine, Did anybody this past summer when they had, I think it was Bike America or Bike something or other, when people from all over the country came to Maine to do this 2 or 3 day bike tour, this is where they started. There must have been 300 tents set up there. Music playing down here at the amphitheater, food carts set up. How exciting, how exciting. Wonderful. So, one of the other I think very important things as you walk up and down Main Street is looking at the facade building improvement and the grant program, which was funded both by Colby and the Bill and Joan Alfond Foundation. Here's just a couple examples. Look at Days Jewelry and look at Holy Cannoli, the before and after. And these are just two of I don't know exactly, there are 10, 15, 20 different businesses. And this was not just a one-shot deal. So there are many other businesses that are currently working on this. And this money is going to be recommitted again in 2020 to help additional business. Most importantly, though, I think the base funding was $50,000 or $60,000. However, more importantly, look what the total investment was that $50,000, $60,000 spurred from the different business owners. $300,000 in direct investment. Great picture or what? Taken during the 40s, Wow. I love this picture. I love this picture. So, this picture shows two-way traffic. Look at all the people on the street, How exciting. How exciting. So, let's just talk about the build grant for a couple minutes. $7.4 million federal grant. And, once again, I have to stress that that money would not have been possible without Susan Collins, lobbying for the state of Maine, lobbying for Waterville. So, thank you, Susan. So really, what is that, what is this build grant? It's, well, what it consists of putting all new sidewalks from basically Post Office Square down to the Hathaway, down to the southern end of Main Street. New streetscapes. There are 5 intersections that have to be redesigned, some or just have minimal changes to them. The most complicated one is at the south end of Main Street, because both Main Street and Front Street will both become two-way traffic at that point. The whole idea of this is if you're going to Winslow or if you're not shopping downtown, don't go down Main Street. Try to make Main Street a pedestrian-friendly, try to make it a shopping district. We want people on Main Street who are working, living, shopping, whatever, on Main Street. So, pedestrian-friendly, walkable downtown. So whenever I talk about, whenever I talk about the build grant, I talk about two-way traffic, what's the first thing that always, what's the one thing that always comes up in any discussion when we talk about that? Parking, parking, parking. Well, I'll tell you, Waterville does not have a parking problem. I have been through this a million times with the chief, with the city council, with everybody. What we have is we have a parking management problem, okay? Trying to find that right balance between all-day spaces, 2-hour spaces, free parking, charge, do you pay for parking? How do you balance all this stuff up? So the city is, slowly working on a long-term management plan of trying to figure all this out. And it's really a moving, it's really a moving target too. Because you talk to any city, you talk to the folks in Portland, you talk to Augusta or Bangor or Biddeford or Saco, 5 years from now it's going to be different again. So, parking is never, it just keeps changing. But the most important thing about this slide, I think, is this number down here, the 76 additional spaces in the concourse by changing the layout of it. This is important because when Main Street goes to two-way traffic, that diagonal parking is going to go away. It will be parallel parking on both sides of the street, and when you go to parallel parking, you're going to lose some spaces. So these 76 spaces make up, plus some, for the parking that is lost on Main Street as part of that build grant. There's a lot going on downtown. I saw Andy McPherson. He's somewhere here in the room. Andy's back there. He's the new city engineer. There's a lot going on downtown, so the city is strategically trying to figure out actually when to do this stuff. Starting this spring, the Kennebec Water District is going to be installing a new water main all the way down Main Street. So, think about that. The water main that's on Main Street was installed in 1902. When I redeveloped 173 Main Street, we put a camera into the main. It was an 8-inch main, and there was a hole that was how much water was flowing through an 8-inch main because of the scaling that was on the pipe. So the new water main. So and because of that, because of all of the other work going on at the Schuff Art Center, the hotel, the build grant, et cetera, Andy and his team in City Hall are thinking hard about when to time all of this work, because, as much as we love all the new construction, we don't want to tear everything all up at once. So let me talk about a few of the other buildings downtown that are seeing development. This is the Edith and Eaton buildings. So the developers of this property, I see Tom DePrey Jr., he's in the room today. Tom, thank you for coming. So Tom and his team, they're currently working through design and construction estimates. It's a complicated project. So there's really not any timeline yet available. I do know that they're working very hard on moving this project forward. But I'll tell you that construction costs are so expensive now that you have to really dig deep into these projects. The time you spend planning is well worth it. The Arnold Block, Tom and Tracy Nail. Love that old historical picture there of that. And then they also bought the budding building next door, 99 Main Street. They have also started some renovation on the upper floors of that building. And it's wonderful, once again, as I said, when you see local people coming in and making these purchases. 129 Main Street, this building is, a million different uses over the years. Actually, once Ed Muskie had his offices on the second floor of this building. I learned that at a Maine Historical Society meeting one time. But anyway, on the right, Matt Hancock is going to redo this building. He's finishing up his drawings right now. I expect that probably within the next month or so, he'll be pulling a building permit, and once warm weather hits, he'll be starting the renovation of that building. So long-term business and economic growth, the last strategy. So development tools for a competitive advantage. The TIF district, of course, extremely important. Opportunity zone designation. Garvin has done a wonderful job assisting investors, helping them through that whole federal process. It's a complicated process, but it's spurring. But those opportunity zones are spurring a lot of investment into properties throughout the entire country that would not have seen investment before. Extending the downtown historic district, why is that important? Well, when you have a historic district, then you can apply for, state funds, you can apply for federal funds if you fall within these districts. Free public wireless internet initiative. We did this two years ago, I think it is now. We have 5 hubs on buildings around downtown Waterville where you get free wireless. And the facade and building improvement grant program that I spoke about just before. So, all of these tie into making investment possible. As right now, I've been doing this in Maine since 1975, and there is more construction going on in the state of Maine right now than there has been since I've been here. And because of that, it's all supply and demand. Construction prices are extremely, extremely expensive, extremely expensive. So you need, a developer needs every single tool that they can get to help them, pay for those construction costs. The numbers have to work, just the numbers have to work if you're going to do these investments. I'm going to go through these quickly here. Here's a slide on Maine's, labor force. You can look at, you can look at the population, the labor force, and the gap between that. And more importantly, that's the state. Here's Waterville. Okay. Whereas once again is the population, we're showing a slight growth in population. The labor force has jumped a little bit, but we're in a lot better shape than the rest of state of Maine is when it comes to bucking these demographic challenges. So, the early indicators of progress is we got, 400 new jobs. Look at population of Waterville is growing. Increase in home sales. Don, I'm sure that's making you happy. I see Don Plord in the audience. 18% increase in median home sale prices. Since 2015, over 22 properties have changed hands. So, to wrap this all up, once again, Portland should follow Waterville's model. Man, just the buzz that's going on around the state now. I tell you, I've got friends all over the state. No matter where they go, I say, man, there's a lot going on in Waterville, Paul. We see your name in the paper all the time. Just, it's wonderful. It's wonderful that everything that's going on. So, So I love these quotes. There might be a better model a little closer to home. That's the city of Waterville. Wonderful. So thank you all very much. Happy to stick around for a few minutes, answer any questions you might have. And thank you once again for having me this morning.
Thank you, Paul.
Softball questions only.
We would ask if you have questions. We're happy to have you ask them, but because we are taping, if you would wait till I can run the microphone to you, that would be great because it will pick up on the video. We'd also like to give Paul, it's a very small token of our thanks for appearing today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Most appreciated.
So we will entertain some questions if people have them. I'm going to go to Amy first because she's closest.
Just a quick question. From all this investment by Colby and by other investors, how many millions have been invested in the downtown so far? And how much do you expect will be invested?
Wow. How much has been invested by others? I don't have a dollar amount for that. I can get back to you on that, Amy. I know that by the time Colby is done, we'll be pushing $90, $100 million of investment. What that total number is, I'm not exactly sure on outside investment, but when you look at major projects, if you look like major projects like the Lockwood Mill project, et cetera, if I had a guess at a number, I'd be pretty confident in saying $125 million plus or minus, plus or minus a few million, right? It's like it's monopoly money.
Hi.
Anybody else? Bruce?
Hello. Well, Paul, I've seen you a number of times at the planning board, and it's always a pleasure, and thank you for your professionalism and courtesy when you were there. And always trying to work, to make a compromise when necessary. But my question is, a lot of people don't realize how much taxable the increase in taxes that have come in from these projects. Do you have a rough idea on maybe what that is?
I had a slide at one point. I had a slide at one point that had that number on it. Bruce. Let me just go through this quickly to see if it's there again. What I can tell you, though, is that every property that Colby has purchased, we have not asked for any TIF monies on any of those, and we are paying the full tax rate on all of those properties. What exactly that dollar value is, I'd have to get back to you, Bruce. I thought I had a slide in here that had that number, but these are all fully, these properties are all paying their full property tax.
I would expect a significant number, though.
Yes, yes. Especially when you look at something like the Bill and Joan Alphon Commons, where you had a parking lot. The city was getting zero income from that. 173 Main Street, that was a vacant building. I don't know what the city assessed it before, it now, but I know we're paying over $30,000 a year in taxes on 173 Main Street alone. You're welcome. Bill.
Paul, good morning. Thank you so much for a fabulous presentation. I was wondering if you could give us a little better sense of the build grant and the rollout of that. Just a little more about the phases, just a high level.
Sure.
The timeline. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, basically, there's three main partners with the build grant. There's Colby, there's the City of Waterville, and there's the Maine Department of Transportation. Big picture, the federal government is financing 80% of it. Colby is financing 20% of it. The city of Waterville is providing their staffing, people like Andy McPherson, et cetera, here in the room with the engineering assistance that is necessary to make this all alone. The DOT is also putting a few $100,000 into it. But those are really the three key players in it. In terms of timeline with the build grant, there are multiple, whenever you enter into a federal contract, they're 35 pages long, there's very complicated agreements, but kind of the one date to keep in mind is September 15th of 2020. By that date, the plans need to be complete, and they have to be out on the street for pricing. So theoretically, the build grant talks about it going out for pricing and start the work starting in late in 2020. That's not going to happen. Maybe you'll start some engineering work, some mobilization, et cetera, but I would really see it as being the spring of 2021, the work actually starting. So that's kind of, the big picture timeline on it. Any other questions? This is an easy, I'm preaching to the choir in this audience. This is wonderful. Well, once again, thank you all very much. I thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
Thank you all for coming, and we hope we see you back in March for our Clarity on Cannabis speak. Have a nice day.